Welcome to Reflections, a program where we discuss values and virtues for the transformation of the individual and the society in general. I am Father George Ehusani, and I am privileged to have in the studio my friend Frank Nweke II.
Absolutely, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Father.
So I was Minister of Information, Director General, Nigerian Economic Forum,
Economic Summit,
Summit, and you are many things. You know,
yes,
it's a household name. Now, and you are one of the youngest ministers we had in this country.
Well, there were a couple of us, not just me.
I'm not talking of Mbu in those days.
but they were even younger. Even our heads of government were much younger.
Well, in the days of 70-something, 80-something-year-old people, when you now have the age at which you became minister, was pretty young. So.
I know. Yes, we were. A number of us were very young.
Thank you.
At the time.
You were the DG of the Nigerian
Economic Summit
Group.
Yes, sir.
And I believe you have been watching the economy. Just a little over 1 year ago, meaning May 2023, the Naira was officially 450 Naira per dollar. 13-14 months after, today it is 1,600 almost.
Yes.
We were buying fuel for 195 Naira per liter just 13 months ago. Today it is 690, and in several cities of Nigeria we are queuing. We are queuing to buy the fuel for almost 700 Naira per liter. In some parts of the country, they are buying at 800, at 900 per liter. If you go to the housewife, it will tell you that before May last year, they were buying a tuber of yam, maybe 3 tubers of yam for 2,000, 3,000. Now a single yam is selling for 5, 6, 7,000. Life has become really difficult. We hear official inflation rate, they will tell us it's 30-something, it's 40%, 30-something%. But what the average person is seeing is not 30%. It's about 300%, 400% in some cases. Where are we going? Can Nigeria survive? Nigeria as a people, can we survive these harsh economic realities for the next 2-3 years? Is there any light beyond the tunnel?
Well,
Frank.
Well, thank you, Father. It's so good to see you again, sir. Thank you so much. It's been a very long time.
It's been a long time, yes.
I visited and had the opportunity to have this kind of conversation with you. Everything you've said, sir, speaks to the reality of our current situation in Nigeria. I hope that I can recall everything you've said in your opening statement and then be able to respond. But if there is any aspect of it that I don't, maybe I skip or I don't address properly or sufficiently, perhaps you would remind me, and hopefully we can have some meaningful conversation on that. What has happened in the last 14 to 15 months underscores certain imperatives in statecraft. The imperative of a political leadership that it's conscious about its reason for being. Why are you the president? Why are you a governor? Why are you a Senate president? Why are you a Speaker of the House of Representatives? Why are you a legislator? Why are you a commissioner? It's important. People need to be mindful of it. And that mindfulness will then help you understand that the only reason why you are so addressed as president or governor is that in those positions you now have responsibility for the welfare and the well-being of the people. And that in the absence of these imperatives, right, you have no reason to exist. And it is such an awareness, Father, that will then hopefully help you be more contemplative of the things you say, how you say them, when you say them, and where you say them.
Because you think of the consequences.
You must understand the consequence. My point exactly. And so you have a situation where you are at Eagle Square. An oath has just been administered to you. And based on information now available to us, off script,
You say
a leader then mouths, subsidy is gone. The consequences
immediately.
took effect.
Immediately.
Now, let me be clear, sir. As former Director General of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, we advocated the removal of subsidies.
Okay.
We constantly advise government that, yes, whilst we understand that subsidy as a tool for economic management can be useful, but the question is always what sector you apply it to, how you apply it to, what segment of society benefit from it. That's our position. And that's why, for instance, when successor administrations, including the one in which I served, President Obasanjo, sought to remove the subsidy, the group at the time supported them, supported the government.
The summit group.
Yes, the summit group, we supported it. But in supporting it, we're also saying to you, there are certain vital steps that must precede
The removal
of the subsidy.
And the removal should be like in stages, not
in stages and not at once, so that in order not to shock that economy, or to protect that economy from excessive shock. Right? Now, you proceeded to make that statement. You didn't have a cabinet in place. I'm not aware that any studies were done. And the result is what we have today. So you had a good policy or good intent that was not properly planned for.
After that announcement, we still went 3 months before the cabinet
was then put in place. Right. The second thing that I want to talk about is the issue of the floating of the naira. Even at that time as well, there was still no cabinet in place. Right? The former central bank governor was already under investigation and arrest and things, and there was no central bank governor.
So there was nobody running the economy.
Nobody running the economy. So we had an acting CBN governor, a nice gentleman, but things had already happened, and these are in good policies, but these are not policies that you just jump out and say you just mouth it and everything. It's got to be planned. It's got to be structured. It's got to be timed, right? It's got to be timed, because you must then weigh all the options,
all the possible consequences.
More importantly, you must understand the peculiarity of your economy. The fact that something has worked somewhere else doesn't mean it will work in your own economy, in your own country. So it's important, sir, for leadership to be more mindful of their responsibility and the weight of their words.
Talking about the various factors. I know you are still answering this, but talking about the various factors, it is turning out now that a laborer who earns some French francs across the border in Togo and Dahomey can now come to Nigeria, and is a big man because he changes his CFO and he has plenty of naira.
Absolutely, it's common knowledge, and that's why a lot of people. The pressure on the naira is going to remain for a very long time. The pressure will remain because clearly our currency appears to be in free fall, and that is why everybody within this jurisdiction today is constantly looking to buy foreign exchange, because it's become safer to hold whatever assets you have in foreign currency, right? It's become safer. And so that is what is happening. So the pressure on the naira will continue to be there. All right, because everybody there's fear, right? There's fear in the overall economy. People are anxious. People have no. There's a very high trust deficit between the citizens and the government, and so nobody believes anything anybody's saying. So people are acting on their own, based on their own instincts, and it's not unusual. We're all human beings, right?
But that's not good for the economy.
It's not good for the economy, right? And so, unless some measure of trust is restored, and specific actions are taken to restore confidence in this economy, I'm afraid that you continue to see the kind of behavior that is now manifest in our overall economy.
This loss of trust in the leadership, this loss of confidence in the policies of government, is that also part of what is responsible for companies, multinational companies that are moving out?
Father, I think we should switch seats so that you're sitting on this side, because at the end of the day, sir, right? What is my reason for wanting to invest in Nigeria? I want to invest in Nigeria because I believe there's a market, and the essence of investing in this market is because I believe that I'll be able to make profit and grow my company and grow my investment. So if after 50 years I come to a realization that, wow, this economy is no longer what it used to be, this economy no longer serves me, right? If that is the signals I'm now getting, and my balance sheets, are not adding up, doesn't balance out, or whatever, of course, the natural thing for you to do is to go away. Money will only go to where it is safe.
Yes.
Money will only go to where it is protected. Investors will only go to places where they feel welcome, right? So if, in addition to the high cost of operating in Nigeria, you have to supply your own energy, you have to provide your own security, you have to provide your own water, you have to train your workforce and everything on a constant basis, because the school system to some degree does not adequately prepare this citizens for the workplace of the future and those kinds of things. And then in addition to it, you now have this rash set of economic policies, right,
that are so upsetting to any business,
so destabilizing to any business. The only thing you want to do as a rational human being is for you to say, okay, let me take my investment
elsewhere, where things are more stable,
where there's more stability, where there's more predictability, where there's security, and where perhaps you can also find the caliber and the capacity of the kind of workforce.
I was hearing some people on TV arguing that, this is actually very good for Nigerian local investors. Now that these multinationals are moving out, that it is actually an opportunity for indigenous companies to take their place, and how viable is that?
I've come across some of those comments, and I think it is based on ignorance. First of all, at a time when your economy is in dire straits, right? You have some of the most iconic brands in the world, whether it's in the energy sector, whether it's in the fast and movable goods sector, consumer goods sector, or whether it is in the sanitation sector, all the things. Most of these iconic brands that have been here, that are highly, highly courted and sought after all over the world, there's an exodus from your country. I mean, people, if you want to...
When there is no all-out war.
There's no war, there's nothing, they're living, and some people say, no, it's good, let them go. Well, I think that's a very simplistic way to look at it. It has consequences. But of course, one man's meat, as they say, might be another man's poison. I also know that it avails other people opportunities to perhaps invest in that sector. But the exodus of these iconic brands have consequences for Nigeria.
And very quickly. That means the exodus within a short time.
That's why I use the word exodus.
It takes many years to put together that kind of company.
Absolutely.
So you don't have, Guinness, Nigeria leaves, Total or one of these.
Procter and Gamble, Total is all those kinds, Ajib Oil.
You won't find the next day.
Yes,
another company of that level.
GSK is leaving, and then you can see, sir, that their departures have had very, very adverse impact
on inflation,
on access to drugs, on the cost of these drugs, and other things, right? So I am afraid I don't share the optimism shared by these other people. I mean, without prejudice to the fact that yes, some other local investors have taken their place. That's okay, but it's still not good for us as a country, especially now. Look at it now, sir. Our president and members of his cabinet are traversing the world looking for investments, right?
And then the investments that are here
are
living.
So it's like we're doing what? Fetching water with a basket. That's what it amounts to. So the people who make those kinds of commentaries, I respect their views. I mean, they're entitled to it. We don't agree. We can see beyond all of that bravado that things are falling apart.
And the people that are in, whether they are in Singapore, in China, in America, they are reading the newspapers, they are watching TV, they have embassies here. They will ask what the business environment is.
The things have evolved. The world has evolved in a very, very transformative way over the years. The whole concept of the global village. People see 24 hours, real time, what is going on, whether it's in politics, whether it's in the economy, whether it's in security, whether it's whatever. You see everything real time. So there's not much room for us to pretend or to hide. Because some of these entities even know more about our country than we know as local people.
Actually, with 220 million people, that's 220 million consumers.
Yes.
For any kind of company, we really don't need to go out looking for them. They should come looking for us if the environment is right.
No, absolutely. I couldn't challenge what you've just said, Father. Nigeria is a huge market, but even now the capacity of this market in terms of the purchasing power of the people is severely constrained, right? So people are looking at the numbers, and so a lot has to do with what kind of goods, what kind of products would people be interested in coming to market here or manufacture here, and then under the prevailing circumstances, in order for them to break
what is
even
the purchasing power of the people? With minimum wage being at 60 or 70,000, I was just reading in the papers today that the number of doctors were interviewed, and they say, look, with 70,000 naira minimum wage, it can only guarantee that the patient is transported to hospital, but not for treatment.
Well, sir,
he cannot be treated with 70,000 a month. But he can get to hospital get transportation to hospital.
Absolutely, that's really what it is. That's why I spoke at the beginning that our reality, the reality of our existence today as a nation, is obvious. It's there for everybody to see. It is not palatable. It is not inspiring. It is most discouraging, and in fact, it creates room for a lot of anxiety. And anxiety of the kind that has public health importance, really. Given really what people are going through.
Do you think, I hear statements from government circles how, we have put in place wonderful policies, make sacrifices, we are going to get out of this, and so on and so forth. What are the prognoses? What does it look like? What do you think it will look like in 6 months, in 1 year, in 2 years? Are we going to get out of this mess?
Well, sir, for me, let me be clear. For me, as an Igbo person, there's a saying in my place. There's a word. In fact, that's the name of my late brother, Ndubisi. Ndubisi means that life is the most important. Life is the ultimate. And so I choose to be hopeful as long as one is alive. And I will encourage Nigerian citizens to remain hopeful. Thankfully, as a people, we're very resilient. And I'm sure that by the grace of God, we would find our way out of this.
We'll find our way.
But let me also be clear.
But you don't think in the next 6 months.
The Bible is also clear that faith without works means nothing. So I have this faith. And so for me, there's got to be fundamental changes in order for us to begin to work our way out of this. Take, for instance, the recent statement by government that it is duties on certain food items
so that
food can be imported. For goodness sake,
like a war-torn area
I worry about this, because let us ask ourselves the question: why don't we have food? What is responsible
for the
cost of food? The problem is that it's a classic demand and supply situation. What is it? That due to insecurity in different parts of the country,
people cannot go to farm.
Right? Due to insecurity, people are displaced from their normal places of
where they could
farm. And then those that remain are not able to go to the farm because they are being attacked, they are being killed, they are being murdered, right? Now, rather than tackle
that insecurity
problem, you're not tackling the insecurity, or well, not sufficiently, right? So you feel the best thing to do is to open our borders
and kill the remaining industries.
In order for food to come in, right? And then they said for 5 months, but I know our country the way it is. In 5 months, they'll find a reason to extend it, okay? And yet you refuse to deal decisively with the main problem. The main problem is not because our people are lazy, not because our people are unwilling to farm or produce food, but because they are being attacked. So people now are afraid to go to the farm. Deal with it, right? So under such a situation, what do you think is going to happen, right? Because it then means again that, don't forget that agriculture, the contribution of agriculture to overall economy is over 35, almost 40, in fact 40 something percent. That's the main contributor to our GDP. And now you have entire swaths of the nation unable to do what they have always done. And you think the best thing to do is to open the borders, right? What does that mean? Your economy is going to further shrink. The foreign exchange that you don't have, you are going to use it to buy these things as well. And then I can assure you that those things will never come into the country in sufficient quantities in order to bring down the price of these goods.
You see, the parts of the country
the price of food
that are taken over by bandits are the parts of the country that produce real food.
Yes, but regrettably, sir, yes, that is correct. There's significant insecurity in the northern parts of the country,
the
middle belt, and also the southern part of the country. In fact, just before we got in here, I was looking on my phone. There's reported some incursion by herdsmen. They send the videos from my village in Enugu. Initials that are right there. I will show you after the program. It's right there. They just sent it to me, saying please that we should call security people because these cows have gone into this farmland and eaten up the little that the people have now planted in this farming season. It's right there. So it's all over. You see the news in the western part of the country, in Ondo, in Ekiti. The problem is the same. Because of the absence of political will, people, for whatever reason, are more preoccupied with steps, with behaviors and certain relationships that help them to advance their political career, rather than dealing with something that is about to pull down the entire house.
As someone who is very experienced in this area, I mean the economy, what do you suggest? You were in government when Nigeria was able to pay off all its debts.
Yes.
And I look forward to a time when we can pay off our debts and whatever we earn from oil or whatever is our own. What do you recommend that should be done now if we are to get out of this situation in another 1, 2, 3 years?
Sir, look. Okay, so you look at this. What now? You look at the situation in which we have found ourselves, right? And then look at our political leadership. Okay, there's been series of concerns raised about our public expenditure, for instance, right? How is it, for instance, that the economy is in such dire straits, and you're preoccupied with procurement of a yacht?
Yes.
You're preoccupied with procurement of presidential jet. You're preoccupied with
vice president's
residence and things like that. And meanwhile, you're telling your citizens to please keep tightening their belt. How is this going to be? So at the time that we found ourselves able to clear our debts, there was a deliberate and conscious effort on the part of the administration in which I served to do what? Engage in very serious economic planning. And it's not just planning for the sake of planning, implementable plans to which everybody subscribed. It meant that the president was willing to subordinate himself to a plan that has been agreed by the cabinet for implementation. It meant that other cabinet members and various ministries were compelled, because of the leadership of the presidency, to subscribe to the public procurement laws and due process initiatives and things like that. So, in other words, you cannot be saying that you cannot pay house rent, or you cannot, you don't have money for transportation.
Then you go and buy a new car.
You go and buy a new car, or you go and buy a new plane. or you go and, you engage in all sorts of reckless expenditure. I mean, the corruption that we hear about, that's commonplace, is mind-boggling. It's right there for everybody to see. So you cannot begin to fix an economy in that way, because your behavior does not even suggest that you are interested in fixing this economy, right? There's literally a run on this economy by the political class. Okay, look at our National Assembly. Look at that whole thing about the
SUVs.
The SUVs, 160 million naira for one individual. But you then expect almost ordinary citizens to thrive on 70,000 naira. How does that make sense? So 160 million naira for your car, you have wardrobe allowance, you have all sorts of allowances. You're talking about millions of naira, tens of millions paid to individuals, 409 of them on a monthly basis. But ordinary citizens cannot benefit beyond 70,000 naira. And then you think you're going to fix this economy? How are you going to fix the economy? Because all those monies you're spending, you are fueling other people's economies. So when you purchase the SUVs, you're fueling the Japanese economy. You're fueling the Chinese economy, right? That's what you're doing.
If only we had economy. If we bought those SUVs from Innocent or Nord or any of these Nigerian, then at least some of the money will be here.
Some of the money will be here, and then people are going to be employed, right? Skills are being improved. Okay, the economy is being boosted, in a way. But they say no. But go and check all those things that you have on cars. These are just names of people, right? If you enter, whether it's a Chan, whether it's a Gak, whether it's the innocent one, it's the same. Well, the difference is just the name.
Yes.
The difference is just the name. And because these people do not have the interest of Nigeria at heart, they have no problem with undertaking those expenditures.
No, they
have no problem.
That was most...
just doing that. And then let me even say something, sir, before we round up. Look at the ongoing controversy between NNPC and Aliko Dangote.
Yes, that's unfortunate.
That's most unfortunate. I'm asking you, as a Nigerian, do you not feel embarrassed?
Terribly embarrassing.
Do you not feel shame?
Terribly embarrassing.
That you have a group of people at the NNPC that have the temerity, the shamelessness, the absence of the fear of God to come out and make the kinds of statements that have been made. In spite of where we are as a country today, they actually come out and say it.
The biggest industry that can help us earn dollars and so on, you demarcate it publicly.
The highest employer of labor,
right,
in our country. One of the poster boys of our private sector, a strong believer in Nigeria, right, who has consistently made investments in our economy. First of all, you go and raid his office with the EFCC. I'm not saying if anybody has done anything against, that has undermined the law. Of course, you should hold them accountable. But I believe that wisdom is profitable for the wise. Wisdom is profitable. And so you are seeking for people to come to your country. But the people that you have, even your own citizens, you show no consideration. No consideration. To the extent that you have an official, you come out and say that there was no license. And yet, this same set of officials, the same people, today, they took a former president to go and commission
something that doesn't have license.
You did, but he didn't issue the license. You're the regulator. You're everything. You're an investor. No shame, nothing.
Yes, because the NNPC is still an investor in it.
Still an investor in it. All these things took place. You have, remember the former central bank governor who had also said that I think they had to support this very important project, which I completely support. Everywhere in the world, there are certain projects that are known as national interest projects. You have how many refineries on which you've expended billions of dollars through the years, and listen, sir, in the latest effort, so-called turnaround maintenance, the current leadership of the NNPC, they have given the nation about 3-4 deadlines. Oh, this thing is going to start producing. Up to today, there's nothing. And they have the shamelessness, the temerity to come out on national TV and accuse somebody, that the thing was, it doesn't have a license. Whose duty was, when did you discover that it didn't have a license? It didn't have a license, and then you took a former president to commission it. It's 45% complete, now you claim, and yet the government, under your guidance as NNPC, told us that the refinery was complete. And it is how many years after or how many months after you now tell us? And you think the world will take us seriously?
That was most unfortunate.
My expectation is that if the administration wants to be taken seriously, the people who have orchestrated this embarrassment, this national embarrassment, should be held to
account.
Serious. They must be held to account. Yeah. Otherwise, you have people who begin to just say whatever they want to say.
If Ghana, if Ethiopia, if America refuses to buy oil of Dangote because the Nigerian authorities are saying that it is substandard oil.
Absolutely. And we've just heard what is going on. I mean, I read something, I saw a video clip where Aliko was saying that he was now ready for a fight. Yeah. And then revealed for the first time that officials of NNPC now have blending plants off the coast of Malta.
Yeah.
And so, as a matter of fact, the monies, the foreign exchange that we don't have, we can now see the reason why they are insistent on continuing to import refined products, because they are the ones refining it. So they are patronizing themselves at the expense of Nigeria.
This is terrible.
So my expectation is that the administration, if it wants to be taken seriously, should look into this very seriously and really do something about it.
Yes, so that Nigerians can see that we are serious about it.
And the world is watching.
Yeah.
The world is watching.
On this note, we'll bring this segment to an end. I've been speaking to Frank Nweke II, former Minister of Information, former Director General of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, and politician and commentator on national affairs. Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We will need to meet again to discuss further.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.